guys, it's Rob from Raw Balls. Let's take a look today at some of the clutches that have already shed out. I know you guys are keen to get a look at them and do some comparisons again with some of my existing collections so that we can try and better identify what we've had. So here we go, there's plenty to get through. Okay, this is the Super Pastel Leopard to the Spinner or Spider Pinstripe female. Let's take a look at these babies now that they've all shed out and get them set up individually and see if we can get them to eat. The first guy is this Leopard Spinner Blast, and I think it is a Spinner Blast, not a Lemon Blast. There is a little more pattern on the sides of it now, but the very light coloured head, the very fine eye stripe and the overall really thin patterning suggests that this is actually a Spinner Blast, and it has got quite a bit more colour to it now. This is a little male. And let's just take a look at my Leopard Lemon Blast Desert Ghost compared to the Spinner Blast. Now, this one has spider and this one does not, and I think you can see immediately the difference in the pattern. Down the sides, the spider influence is obvious on the hatchling. So they're both leopard, they're both pinstripe, but this one has a spider influence, and you can see in the Desert Ghost version why people rave about Desert Ghost. You can see that the Spinner Blast here has gained quite a bit of colour after shedding, but nowhere near as bright as the Desert Ghost. If we compare the pattern in proportion to the snake, the reason that I'm saying this is a Spinner Blast is because proportionally the pattern is very much finer on the Spinner Blast than it is on the Lemon Blast. You can quite clearly see the very high contrast and reasonably well defined lines on the Desert Ghost version. This one you can see the striping is much thinner and much less high contrast. So this is the Leopard Spinner Blast compared to the Leopard Lemon Blast Desert Ghost, and again you can see that after shed this little guy here has actually put on quite a bit of colour compared to the very pale snake that we looked at pre-shed. This is the Bumblebee, a female, and again you can see that it's coloured up quite nicely since it's shed. That head pattern is awesome, the head stamp there, but typical little Bumblebee. I know many of you like to see the comparisons, so here it is again one more time. This is the Bumblebee on the left that just hatched out compared to the Calico Bumblebee on the right, and you'll see immediately that the new hatchling, now that it's shed, has actually gained quite a bit of colour. The yellow dorsal is standing out and the sides are nowhere near as clean and white as the Calico. There's quite a contrast between them, but the similarity in pattern is quite obvious, and also the head stamps are very similar. So there's that comparison now that the Bumblebee has shed, and the comparison with the Calico Bumblebee. You can see the similarities and differences there. We have two Lemon Blasts, identical head stamps. One has a slightly busier pattern than the other one, but these are both pastel pinstripes. We have one male and one female. Two pastel leopards. I love this combo. Pastel goes really well with leopard, brightens up the yellows, but the leopard keeps the blacks really dark, so you get a lovely high contrast snake. And so we have one male and one female, and I'm really tempted to keep the female. Nice. And finally a straight pastel. again coloured up quite nicely since it's shed, and this is a little male. So let's get these guys set up. Setup is simplicity itself, a little Daiso shoebox, the single sized one with perforations at each end, water bowl, and a label for each one telling me what they are. So in goes the snake. So this is a spinner blast. On goes the lid with the obligatory clips at each side. To prevent escape, and that's it, done. So we'll set them all up exactly the same way. Let's just take a look at the previous clutch, the Lavender clutch. This is the male. This is Lavender Fire, already eating really well and packing on the weight. You can see it's grown quite considerably. So this is the Fire Lavender from the Het Lavender clutch. This is the Pastel Lavender female with the wonky eye. She has been eating, she is growing. There is no infection in the eye. I think it's a genetic defect which may cure itself with age. Let's just get a look at the swollen eye there. It is clear. I did aspirate with a little syringe just at the back of the eye where there's no essential organs. When I aspirated, just clear, completely clear water fluid came out. The swelling went down, subsided, and she's now able to eat. So we'll see how she gets on, but healthy and eating. This chunky little guy here that's going into shed is the Superfly. Again, eating really well. This is a male, so Super Pastel Fire, 66% het for Lavender, growing really nicely. This is a really nice snake. When he's shed, his colours are really bright. And this male here is a Firefly, or Pastel Fire, just a single copy of Pastel with Fire. Again, really bright, 66% het for Lavender. And this one is also eating really well. This is a female. This is the Fire, 66% het Lavender. You can see the typical Fire pattern, and again this animal is quite bright. You can see the pattern reduction here along the sides, the little donut on the dorsal, just here you can see the donut, typical of Fire, and the typical Fire head stamp. This one's a little bit smaller, took a little bit longer to get eating, but as you can see it is eating now and is quite chunky. This is a female Fire. This guy here is a Super Pastel, 66% het for Lavender. This is the male. Now we also have an identical female, also growing. You can see how chunky these things have got, eating really well. So none of the problems we had with the second clutch, some of which I am still assist feeding, these things have taken off and they're eating rat pups already, no problem at all. So Super Pastel, 66% het Lavender. Now we're going to look at the 3 holdbacks from the first clutch, the spot noses that I held back. There are 3 of them. These actually hatched out in June of this year, so they're about 3-4 months old and quite considerably bigger than the new hatchlings already. This is a spot nose yellow belly, and we can now see quite strongly from the flaming on the sides of this animal and the underbelly speckling, plus the actual yellow colour on the belly, that this is a spot nose yellow belly. You can see the classic spot nose head stamp, and this snake is extremely bright. The yellow belly is brightening up the spot nose. This is a female. So this is spot nose yellow belly, and she's staying with me to make more spot nose babies. Now this little female, when it first hatched out, alongside all its siblings, I was almost positive that it had spot nose. You can see the head stamp with the spot in the middle, and you can see the alien heads, all of which bleed down in the belly in typical spot nose fashion. But as she's aged, I'm now not so sure that she has spot nose. This is definitely pastel, Mojave and vanilla, and again I wasn't sure whether it was vanilla or yellow belly initially. Definitely vanilla with the vanilla head stamp here. So you guys let me know if you can actually see spot nose in this female. I'm not so sure anymore. So now Pastave vanilla, just like mum. So let's do that comparison with mum, and you'll see why I'm now not so sure whether this is actually spot nose. So here is mum, and side by side the head stamp on daughter is actually quite similar to mother. Mother also has the dot in the middle of her head, and I'm not seeing the blocky spot nose pattern as much as I did before. And in fact this snake here is a chip off the old block in terms of colour, pattern and tone. This snake has a much more solid dorsal than mum does, and the alien head patterns are much more regular on daughter. The colour is a little bit richer, but you'll see that mum also has the alien heads, the single dot typical of Mojave, floating alien heads that run down to the belly, aside from a little bit of extra flaming on this younger female. So given that comparison, I'm now not so sure that this baby has spot nose in it. I think this might be just a high quality version of mum. You guys let me know. I do see some differences here in the pattern, but otherwise a carbon copy of mum. And again guys, if we just look at the pattern here, the bleeding down the sides, and you can see it on both sides. The alien heads do kind of melt and drip down, which could suggest spot nose, but I'm not convinced. So you guys let me know whether you see spot nose in this girl or not. To me, the older that she gets, the more like mum she gets. But we'll hang on to her and see how she grows, see whether I can convince myself otherwise. It is a very nice example. The dorsal stripe is extremely continuous, but the head stamp now is not so distinct from mum that I'm thinking spot nose. It was initially, but not now, and I'm not sure that this isn't just straight Mojave. So what do you guys think? So there we go. This is Pastave vanilla, possible spot nose, but I'm no longer convinced that this is actually spot nose. So once again, this is a female, Pastave vanilla, hatched out in June, so this is about 3.5 months old. Let me just get a weight on this girl for you. So at 3.5 months old, this girl is weighing 376 grams already, so she's growing about 100 grams a month, eating really well, as they should. So you can see how quickly they grow. 375 grams at 3.5 months old. And of course we have this guy, I'm sure you all remember him. This is a male. He is not pastel. If we have a look at the head stamp, if he will actually come out and show us, there we go. There is the head stamp. No pastel. This is vanilla, yellow belly, Mojave and spot nose all combined. Continuous dorsal stripe, and it's the vanilla and yellow belly that causes the melting of the pattern. Mojave has put back a lot of the colour in the snake, these really nice bright oranges that you can see, and spot nose is what's giving all these alien heads that drip or run down into the belly. Again, if we look at the belly here, you can see the typical digital yellow belly pattern. Just look at that head stamp, that's absolutely superb. So this is very squirrely. This is spot nose Mojave vanilla yellow belly. Again, another one of my holdbacks from that first clutch that hatched out in June. This little guy is absolutely awesome. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed looking at the snakes now that they've shed. I think you can see that there's a tremendous difference, and it certainly does help to wait until they've shed out to make your final identifications, and even then some of them will change in the weeks as they start to grow. So that's how my hatchlings are coming along. I've got some awesome hatchlings this year, plenty of holdbacks. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.